Welcome to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. I hope that all of you had a very Merry Christmas. I hope Santa treated everybody very, very well this year and you got everything you wanted. Today on today's edition, we're going to be talking about World Series, not the teams themselves, not the players involved, just the overall aura and the overall energy and feeling that were around these World Series themselves. We got the last 10, so that's from 2025 when the Dodgers won all the way back to 2016 when the Cubbies did it. Now, before we get into that, Owen, you little pot stirrer, you've caused quite a stir on the TikTok page.
So I'm known to rage bait. I love doing it. But what the post he's referring to is I posted a Phillies clip from the NLDS, and I said the Phillies were the better team. Now, do I actually believe that? No, because that is loser mentality. But I do think that in Game 4 we got screwed with the Christopher Sanchez call. I think that's called a strike on the 2-2 pitch to Alex Call. And then the Dodgers, they won on a comebacker. Now, granted, Kirkring is on the Phillies. He's the one that made the mistake. You guys won it. But I feel like if that game goes back to Philly for a Game 5, we clearly win it. And we're Dodgers fans, man. So what do we get, about 300, 350 comments on that post?
Something
They,
like that. It was crazy.
yeah, they have time to comment if they can't fill out a playoff game in the NLDS or NLCS. Like, Dodgers fans, I despise them because they're just, I don't know, they're so entitled. The way they act, they had to go get everybody to win it. They have to have a $400 million payroll. They don't really want to compete because when they had really good teams and they were competing, they were losing in the playoffs. But then you get Shohei, then you get Yamamoto, then you get Sasaki, and then you guys act like you're the big bad wolf. I like what the Dodgers ownership does. They spend money. Other owners should as well. But Dodgers fans, man, I don't think I've ever met a real Dodgers fan that really knows what they're talking about. This is probably me just being petty because they beat us in the NLDS, but I've come across a lot of creators, and it's just the smugness with how they spew their baseball content. I'm sure there's good Dodgers fans out there, as are for any fan base except the Mets. Um, but I personally just do not like the Dodgers. I don't like their fans. I don't mind the players on the team. Big Shohei guy, big Mookie guy. It's just, yeah. But I'm happy they engage with the post. Like, keep commenting. I'll rage bait you the entire week if I have to. You guys are giving me engagement.
I would like to just say, instead of just Mets fans, you could have just said New York because both of them suck. All right, but anyway, to the topic at hand, World Series. Now, we came up with this idea. Well, Owen came up with this idea. I'll say that he sent me a text and was like, "Hey, we should do something like this." And I really dug it, but I like it from his perspective because we're not necessarily doing it from like our favorite team's standpoint. Sorry, Owen. But I have a Red Sox World Series on here. I'll spoil it. It's not number 1, but it's on there.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be really, really fun. I put out a post on the Maniacs TikTok asking you guys to comment some of your guys' favorite moments from these World Series as well. So go back, see that one, leave a comment. Leave a comment for your favorite one on this video here, telling us some of your favorite moments from them and why they mean so much to you. But I'm going to stop yapping. And Owen, you can start us off with your number 10.
Yeah, so my number 10, my least favorite. This is actually the only World Series out of them that I just did not enjoy at all. The other 9 I did. This was the 2023 World Series. I got Rangers over the Diamondbacks in 5. So, a couple things why I dislike this World Series so much. I physically couldn't watch it because of the heartbreak of the Phillies losing to the Diamondbacks. I wanted no part of it. Of course, as an avid baseball fan, I went back after the series. I kept up. I saw the highlights. And it just wasn't an interesting World Series. Game 1 was great. Seager tying it, Adolis Garcia walking it off. But after that, it was really just, after Game 2, I'd say, it was just belt to ass by the Rangers being the Diamondbacks. And I think that series just pissed me off even more because the Diamondbacks were not a good baseball team. Now, this is going to sound similar to the Dodgers post, but I truly believe it. The Diamondbacks were not a good baseball team, and they beat us. That's more on the Phillies than the Diamondbacks winning. Just like the Mets in 2024. I do not think they were a good baseball team. They beat us. That's on the Phillies. The Dodgers were a great baseball team in 2025. Still don't think they should have beat us. But that's my number 10. And then my favorite moment was just the Seager game tying home run when Joe Davis said high drive. Like, that was electric. That was a great moment. But I got a number 10 for me.
Yeah, so my number 10, it's kind of on a similar track. I just didn't have fun watching this World Series, and it was the COVID World Series, the 2020, when the Dodgers took it. Now, it was interesting to watch, I'll say that. It was very, very interesting to see just how they did it in such crazy circumstances, I guess would be the way to put it. And the Rays being, I don't want to call them a Cinderella team because they were really good pretty much that whole season, but you knew they weren't going to beat the Dodgers. And another reason why it's down here, the last guy who got the strikeout, yeah, beats women. So
Yeah.
we don't like Julio Urias.
No, we do not. Or
So
Marcelo.
yeah, so yeah, that's my number 10, and that I think in a lot of other lists, I understand why you have 23 down there, but I feel like a lot of lists would be similar to mine, and that 2020 was just not a fun year to watch baseball.
Yeah, no, I get your viewpoint definitely. Number 9 for me is the 2024 World Series, Dodgers versus Yankees. Um, it just you never felt like the series was close. Like game 1 was great. The Freeman home run was my favorite moment from it. Aaron Boone making a boneheaded decision. I'm sure you love that. And I think that just goes to managers trying to do too much in the playoffs. Like Nestor Cortez over Tim Hill when Tim Hill was constantly getting lefties out was a sight to see. And it was funny because I wasn't I was kind of rooting for the Dodgers. Not that I'm a Yankees hater. I just really like that team. It was like, and I like Otani, but that like awoken a sleeping giant in the Dodgers and their fan base. Like they just became insufferable after that. Um,
Yeah,
but overall, like game 3, like it was kind of like over when it started. Game 4, yeah, the Volpe grand slam, I guess. Game 5 was just not good baseball. Aaron Judge dropping a ball, Garrett Cole not covering first base, probably music to your ears. But it just, I liked it, but definitely number 9 for me.
yeah. So my number 9 might be slightly controversial, but this is also one of those ones that I kind of thought was a cut and dry, clear winner of that World Series, and it wasn't necessarily a competition. I got 2022.
Mhm.
Now, I wasn't the I guess because the Red Sox weren't fantastic in 22, I wasn't necessarily locked in on what was going on, but there was just not much around that series. Like, yes, I love Freddie Freeman, and yes, that Astros team was like they were like the Empire, and everybody going to destroy them in the American League because they just won so many ALCSs in a row and were in every single ALCS for like what 6, 7 years.
The
It
7
was
straight.
kind Yeah, it was kind of like when in the NBA it was just Warriors Cavs for like 4 straight years in the finals, and you just kind of got sick of it. I kind of got sick of seeing the Astros get that far, and you'll notice that with a theme with a couple of these. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Astros World Series as I've seen them there so many times as it is, and they've only won what, two of them?
Yes, and 1 doesn't count.
Exactly. I don't like the choke artists. I don't like the cheaters. So the trash throws, if you will. Shout out John Boy, but
It's 22 or 21 for you.
22.
Oh, okay, so when they beat the Phils.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then
yeah,
then that yeah, 21 right behind it. Actually, I should say I actually flip flop those two. That's why I mix it up. So yeah,
got
that's why those two are back to back.
Yeah. So for number 8 for me, I got the 2018 World Series. I'm sure this is pretty high for you just because you won it. But to be honest, it wasn't that fun of a series to watch. I enjoyed it. Game 3 was electric, but it was really just belt to ass. Like the Red Sox were the best team in baseball. They showed it. Like the Dodgers 2018, they were a good team, but the Red Sox were just better. I didn't really have a dog in the fight because like weren't anywhere close in contention. And then I'd say my favorite moment from that was the game 3, the 18. And I think the best part of that came from the Red Sox side, even though they lost the game, when Nathan Eovaldi gave them, and that kind of spark that lifted them into game 4. There's like a story that after the game, they all gave him a standing ovation in the clubhouse after that because he saved their bullpen. He essentially saved Series for them. So that was a great moment, but that's why I got it number 8, closer to the bottom of the list for me.
And so yeah, I did kind of spoil it with my thing here, but yeah, I got 21 coming up here because it's like I could have gone back and forth with 22 and 21 really because it's like okay, the Astros are in it. It's like it was nice to see the Braves winning and get Freddie, but it was really hard to see the Phillies lose because I got a lot of Phillies fans that are friends, whether it's you or whether it's anybody else who watches this podcast. Shout out to you guys. But I remember, like, this is back on the Phillies one now. I remember being at Top Golf when Jordan Alvarez hit that home run in CBP, and I just remember looking at my boy just right across the couch. I was like, yeah, don't look up.
It was over. Yeah, you knew in that moment it was devastating, but it really wasn't because it was the miracle run. But it's more just like when you know, and that was one of those moments in that World Series.
Yeah, and it's like I love Jordan Alvarez as a hitter, but again, you kind of looked at the Astros for a little bit as like you would look at him as like the Chiefs, or you would look at him as you would look at LeBron's Cavs or Curry's Prime Warriors. Like I guess the year after they lost KD, but either way, uh, yeah, that I just don't like the Astros. The only time you'll see a positive Astros thing is coming up, but either way.
Yeah, no, I got you. So number 7 is 2021 for me, Braves Astros. I like that World Series, and it was a weird series for me to watch because obviously I hate the Astros as well. But I also hate the Atlanta Braves, so I didn't really have a dog in the fight. I just wanted like a good World Series, and it was, dude. Like the Braves in Game 3 and Game 4, like they were close, and then Game 5 when Duvall hit the grand slam in the first off Valdez, still a free agent because he literally hurts his teammates with his fastball. But that was an electric moment. Atlanta was on fire. I still can't believe they lost that game after that momentum swing. But then Game 6, Jorge Soler sending one into the freaking moon. One of the best baseball moments you'll ever see. So that's why it's still 7th. It's not like high on my list, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching that World Series. And with the Braves, I don't think my true hatred started for them until we met in the postseason. I was just always a Mets guy that I hated, still am. So I didn't really, when they won it, it didn't crush me. Like if the Mets win a World Series, dude, I might just log off for a while. Like I can't stand them. Mets fans are worse than Dodgers fans. Braves fans. What's crazy is I went to a Braves game this year. I went to like a series up in Atlanta with my dad. Braves fans are very nice people. And it's like, it kind of makes you think, am I the problem? Absolutely not. But I didn't mind. So that's why I got it 7th on my list for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Baltimore fans. Honestly, I went to Camden Yards with an old buddy of mine, and they were the nicest people in the world. Like
Yeah.
a lady did call me a pissant though, so that was pretty funny.
Okay. Dude, it was like, I would go in the bathroom with like 50 other Braves fans thinking I was going to get into something because I had my Turner Harper jersey on, like back to back days. Nothing. And it's like, not that I wanted an altercation, but give me a little something, dude. Like, if I saw a Brave walking into CVP, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing here? But yeah.
Yeah, so number 7, I have your dead last one. I got 2023. And it's honestly for the sole reason that it was just nice to see two scrapyard type teams kind of get into it. Because obviously the Rangers were a bit more polished. When you look at that pitching staff and you look at that lineup, there was no reason for them to lose that World Series. However, with that being said, it was kind of just fun seeing a team that nobody thought was going to get in there like the Diamondbacks just try. And it kind of set the stage for Corbin Carroll to become the all-star outfielder that he is. It opened the eyes to what's his name, Zach Gallen, who I personally love. He's still a free agent. I think he needs to. I think, hey, Craig, we need another arm. Get Gallen. But like I don't know. It like obviously it wasn't the longest series in the world. It didn't go 7, but it was just overall a it was fun seeing two teams that haven't necessarily reclaimed it shock the world and get into a position that nobody expected them to be in. And honestly, that strikeout with Cattell just looking should have smacked that, but just the energy from the ballpark, the screams. There's no really better sports state than Texas when you really think about it. With football, basketball, if the baseball is good, the baseball is good. They even have hockey on lock because the Dallas Stars are really fun to watch. I don't know if you're a hockey guy, but they're very fun to watch. But either way, yeah, I got that one at my number 7 just due to the fact that we're probably never going to see such a wacky World Series like that again.
It's just so awesome that like the one year we're supposed to win it, an 84 win team shocks the world. And back on Zach Gallen's point, we lit him up in game 1 and game 5 and still lose the series. Whatever, that's enough Diamondback talk. Like Jesus Christ. Um, but for my number 2020 World Series, Rays Dodgers, for all the wackiness of the 2020 season, obviously I prefer fans in the stands. It makes baseball better. But I kind of enjoyed the quirkiness of it. And then when they went to Texas, they had some fans in it. So obviously not the same as a normal World Series atmosphere, but I enjoyed it. And then game Phillips hitting that single, so much chaos going on, throwing the home, dropping the ball, Randy coming in. And I was in, it was weird, it was that COVID time because I did move to Florida, but I was in Jersey for that semester because we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
on. But I was in Florida visiting my boys when the Rays Dodgers World Series was going on. So you kind of had that like Homer, like, let's go Rays because Tampa is the closest team to where I'm located in Florida. So overall, I enjoyed the World Series, and I think it's also funny that before the Dodgers won it in 24, that was their only World Series. Like, if the Phillies got in and won it, of course I'd be ecstatic. But imagine if they didn't and their only World Series was the COVID championship. It's like, that kind of sucks, dude. Like, I don't ever want to take anything away because everyone played the same amount of games, but there always is going to be a little asterisk on that kind of whole season. But I enjoyed it.
The Mickey Mouse World Series. I don't care what anybody says. It's the same
Oh,
thing as the Bubble Championship.
well, big LeBron guy over here. I think that was the championship, but that's complete bias. The Dodgers, yeah, you know my beef with them, so I'm gonna call it a Mickey Mouse ring as well.
There we go. So now, just missing out on my top 5 might surprise you a little bit, but just missing out is the 2024 World Series.
Mm.
Because again, as biased as I can be, it was nice seeing really the two best teams be in the World Series. Because there really wasn't a better team than the Yankees in the American League that season, in my opinion. And the Dodgers have been the Dodgers now for the past 3, 4 years, whether you wanted to talk about how good they were when they got Mookie or just how much better they are now with Freddie, Shohei, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Teo, even though he can't field the lick, Will Smith, Max Muncy in stretches, Kike in October. Like
Real
they just
in CBP, I said to my dad, he's like, who's this little fuck hitting like eighth? And I'm like, oh, let's not do that, bro, because he's going to come up with a big hit. What does he do in the 6th inning with a good pitch by Sanchez? He puts one in left field line and they cut the score to 1. So I was like, dude, Kike in October is a real thing, man. I mean, you saw when he was with the Red Sox in 21. So,
dude, he was incredible. Like I didn't want Kike to leave, but then I saw how he played in the regular season, and I was like, let's just DFA the guy. But
yeah.
either way, it's always fun to see the Yankees lose. It's always fun to see the Yankees fans cry on social media because then it's like I'm shocked that Aaron Boone still has a job at this point, but it's one of those things where it's like I wait for these series to end just so I could see the excuses that were made. But there's nothing better than Aaron Judge dropping that ball. There's nothing better than Nestor hanging that slider to Freddie. And then the call, too. The call. Gibby, meet Freddie. Nothing better. Chills just thinking about it. But it's not a top 5 World Series to me.
Yeah, and my last point on that, what I really liked about 24 is that, like you said, the two best teams, the two number one seeds got there. I genuinely think if two more wildcard teams made the series again in 24, they would have adjusted the playoffs because there's all this talk about that bye. I think if you lose when you're having the bye and you complain, that is complete loser mentality. I remember leaving CBP after game 2 when the Dodgers were up 2-0. I hear fans saying, it's always that bye, man. And I'm like, hold your damn players accountable. It's 5 days off. Yeah. I enjoyed that the two best teams got it because, again, if I'm a Phillies fan, which I am, I want them to get the bye again because I mean I would love to not play in a wild card series, but that's the here nor there. Let's get into our top five. Number five for me is the 2022 World Series, Astros Phillies, and it's very like it's like bittersweet because obviously I love watching the series up until Game Three. First time the Phillies were in the World Series since '09. But then the heartbreak at the end, so it's like you balance it. But overall, I think it was a great series. Obviously, my favorite moment's Game Three when you hit the five homer South Philly Bombers. But then after that, it was just like a slow death. Game Four, Jesus Christ, like just getting no hit, and then Game Five was just one of the best games I ever watched, but it was heartbreaking. Gene Segura cutting it to one. Then Kyle Schwarber smoking one to Trey Mancini. Just the ball finds him. Like, whatever, dude. And then JT hitting one to Chas McCormick, making the play of his life. I remember, I think I was with my girlfriend at the time, ex, whatever. Um, but we were like, fight, and I'm like, but I'm watching the game too, and we like settled down for like the fight was over, right? And then Chas McCormick makes that play, and I lose my freaking mind. And she thinks that's me mad at her, but it was me mad at the game. So I'm just
Oh
like,
no.
I'm out of here, dude. Like, I just can't take this right now. And then 2 days later, we lose in Game Six. Jordan Alvarez sends one to the freaking moon. But overall, it was a good World Series. I have a lot of great memories of it. Obviously, wish we would have won it, but yeah.
Yeah, so my number five, kicking things off, you'll notice a theme with a couple of these coming up with how I've got them placed. And a lot of it has to do with either teams waiting a while or just like historic me value about it. Because before the Astros were cheaters, they were one of the most fun teams to watch. Before we knew they were cheaters, if we take that away, they were so much fun. And that's why 2017 is my number five. That team was really, really fun. Jose Altuve was the most likable guy in all of baseball. Carlos Correa was becoming the face of the shortstop position. We had the rise of Alex Bregman, Evan Gaddis, one of my personal favorite dirt dog type players. Even if you wanted to talk about a guy like Josh Reddick, I think they had Garrett Cole in that pitching staff, and it was either the year before or during that year he had that unbelievable stretch.
No, that was 19.
Oh yeah, you're
But
right, you're right, you're right. I'm sorry, but
you're good.
either way, that team was built off of years and years of sucking. That's why I'm as high as I am on the White Sox going into the year. That's why I can't stop talking about the Pirates. It's
Oh
why
God.
I love the idea of teams like that because they built through the draft and the prospects worked out. You don't really see it that often where the prospects come up and they're the gems that they're supposed to be. Sometimes they struggle and you get rid of them because they were expected to be the impact guys right away. Sometimes they're a flash in the pan and then you waste 5 years on them. But it just worked for Houston and it was so fun to see such a young, electric, and fun team before the buzzers and before the trash cans just absolutely tear up not only just the American League, but Major League Baseball itself.
Yeah. No, I'll get into that more when I get to them on my listing. But it was just like with the whole cheating stuff, it's like obviously if they didn't, the Dodgers would have won, right? But that Astros team, like you said, was so good. Man, they didn't need to cheat. Like, I don't think they would have won it, but they had such a good team, like they proved in 2022, man. It just like was such a bad stain on baseball once that report came out after the 2019 World Series, what they did. And it's like that World Series means absolutely nothing. If you're an Astros fan and you like are prompting that up, like I kind of feel bad for Astros fans because they had no control over that. Imagine your team winning the World Series and then it's just coming out that they cheated and you can't celebrate that anymore. So I think what those ball players did was they slap in the face not only to their own fans but to Major League Baseball. But I'll get into that once I got them on my list. For my number 4 is the 2019 World Series between the Nationals and the Astros. So what I loved about that series, again, it was at a time to where the Phillies were like starting to get competitive again. Like that was the first year of Harper, but they weren't in the playoffs. So I never really had a disdain for the Washington Nationals because it's like, yeah, they're in our division. I could care less, bro. So I just wanted a good World Series. And that was a funny series how like all the road teams they won every single game. That was just weird. But I enjoyed it. And then my favorite moment's a mix of obviously the Howie Kendrick go ahead homer in the eighth, like down the right field line in the short right field in Houston. And I'm a big Howie Kendrick guy. He's on the Philly staff. He's just a great guy. You can't dislike Howie Kendrick. And the Nationals had a bunch of lovable guys on the team. Geraldo Perdomo, not Perdomo, Para when he had the baby shark going on. Anthony Rendon before he decided that he hated the game of baseball. Trey Turner before I grew a disdain towards him. Loved Trey Turner in 2019. But I also loved Juan Soto's emergence because he was 19 years old doing that, and he was the best player in the series. He was the guy. And overall, it was just a classic World Series. Anytime the World Series goes seven, man, it's a treat for all baseball fans.
And for the first time on this list, you and I have something similar because my number four is also the 2019 World Series. And it's strictly because of the David versus Goliath matchup. I mentioned in the 2017 one how it was just really fun to see the Astros be as good as they were. Now we're a couple of years into it, and you're like, all right, who's going to come up and beat these guys now? Because now you want to watch them lose because they just keep winning. Because
Yeah,
it's the price of being good in like whatever sport it is. We all want to see the Dodgers lose. In football, you all wanted to see the Chiefs lose. Now they're not in the playoffs. In basketball, I don't even I guess you guys want to see the Thunder lose at this point. I guess they're the best team in the league. But um, I haven't watched basketball. Don't roast me too hard in the comments. Either way, the 2019 was overall. It was just a fun World Series. Like you said, all the road games, all the road teams won. It was just fun seeing that go to seven because when that went to seven, I'm sure most of us had the thought like ball game. I
yeah,
think we all thought that once not the Dodgers, the Astros won that game six, it was just like ball game. There's no way that the Nationals have that much left in the tank. And God, I love being wrong, especially when it's about baseball, because they do nothing but surprise me and win the World Series. And like you said, the Howie Kendrick home run, is the definition of electricity. And one of my favorite things about to end a World Series is just a strikeout looking or a strikeout swinging. I think it's the most appropriate way to end a World Series. I think it's beautiful, and watching them go down looking and just the silence in Minute Maid while the Nationals are whoa was just such a sight to behold, and it holds a special place in my heart because I love David versus Goliath matchups, especially when David comes out on top.
yeah. And also, shout out to Steven Strasburg, who literally gave his life in that World Series because after that, he signed that 7 year deal and threw 31 innings the rest of the contract. Obviously, injuries, you can't control that. But just the way, like, that entire team just gave their all. And it's funny, like, anytime a team goes down 3-2 and they have to be on the road now, it's I feel like that game six is always a must win for the home team because the momentum shifts. Similar to 2023 when we lost game six against Arizona. Keep bringing them up. I have no idea why, but all the momentum goes to the road team and all the pressure goes to the home team. So similar to 2023 that happened in 2019, and the Dodgers, like once they won Game Six, I thought they were going to win Game Seven. I was right. I'm not happy that I was right, but it's just like that thought to where it's like, man, pressure matters in the playoffs, and if you start playing tight, like bad things can happen. But yeah, that was a great World Series. But my number three is going to be the 2017 World Series, Astros versus Dodgers. It was just such a good series, and it sucks that it's like tainted now with what was going on. But watching that, that was just peak baseball. Like I was 17, you were 18, like we were in high school, like you think you were graduating at this point, whatever. But it's just like that was phenomenal to watch. And then that game five, like I think that was the best baseball game ever up until game seven of this World Series. But then you look at the stats of like Kershaw. I don't know if it was game four or game five, but whenever Kershaw pitched in Houston, he threw like 42 off speed pitches. And you know how many swings and misses the Astros had on them? Zero. And it's like their cheating quite literally influenced the entire like World Series. Like the Dodgers win that series, and as much as I'm beefing with Dodgers fans and probably will for the rest of my life, I feel bad for that 2017 because I could not imagine if it came out that the Phillies in 2022 or 2023 lost to a team that was cheating because you're infuriated. You don't want them to give you the World Series because that's like loser mentality. Like let's say in 2017 Rob Manfred handed the Dodgers the ring, that would be almost worse than just like letting it rock because it's just like, man, you just took that away from us and you didn't deserve it. But like in the moment watching that World Series, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, and honestly, if I can just harp on the cheating scandal for one more second before I get into my number three, it was the way that the players in the organization handled it as well. Like some of them just really didn't want to talk about it and apologize on behalf of their teammates. And then there's the Carlos Correa approach, where he became the most unlikable guy in the league because he was kind of like he was either like no we didn't, or it was like a so what if we did, and it like you said earlier when I was talking about it, it was just such a slap in the face to the game. And I'm not one for taking rings away. I'm not one for voiding wins or voiding. It's not college basketball or college football. You don't need to do all that stupid stuff. But I wish it wasn't so tarnished because that was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and another point, like the reaction of that series, the way Rob Manfred handled that. And I'm a Rob Manfred guy. I think what he's done with the pitch clock, like improving baseball, I am in favor of him. That was one of the most disrespectful ways he could have handled that, saying it's a piece of metal. And he had no feel. He didn't understand why the fans were so enraged, which is crazy. You're the commissioner of baseball. And then going off, this is about 2019. I still to this day believe Jose Altuve was wearing a freaking buzzer. There is no chance in hell he's rounding third. He just sent us to the World Series, and his first intuition is to be like, "Don't rip off my jersey. Don't rip off my jersey." And then they want to say, "Oh, they did some evidence." And no, dude, because if I were Major League Baseball and I found out that the Astros not only cheated in 2017 but also 19, you know what I would have done? I would have hit it up as well because that could have destroyed baseball. Granted, Washington still won, but I firmly believe the Astros cheated in 19 as well, and I think he hit it up because what team did they beat the previous series to go there? The Yankees. Could you imagine Yankees, and rightfully so, they would have every right to be upset if they got cheated out. But and everyone says Jose Altuve, he didn't do it. He told them don't like buzz for me or don't bang for me. I don't care, dude. You still knew what was going on. Everybody in that clubhouse that didn't speak up is a rat. And Mike Fiers. Now, granted, if Mike Fiers was on my team, I would not want him to be on my team because he's a rat in that clubhouse. But what he did was like he finally stood up. Now I think he's a loser because from the reports, he only started to speak up when he lost his spot in the rotation. It's like if you're gonna have the balls to like bring that to Major League Baseball, do it in the moment. Don't do it after you just lost your freaking job. But that's the last time I'll harp on the 2017.
Yeah, so now moving on to my number three. I think yours and mine's one and two are going to be the same. I just don't know about the placement because my
Mhm.
number three, for obvious bias reasons, is going to be the 2018 World Series with the Boston Red Sox. Now, it was again the best team in baseball won. There was not a month in that season where anybody doubted that the Red Sox were the best team in Major League Baseball. It started that way and it ended that way. And it was so much fun to watch my team be the best team in the entire land. I had no worries that entire playoff run, and I'm not even joking. Like I genuinely went into every playoff run thinking, "All right, dub. All right, win. They might get a game or two, but that's a win." Then we got to the Dodgers, and I was like, "Okay, we're a lot of travel, a lot of travel, but I think we're gonna be fine." Then Game Three happened. I did get a little nervous, but with that being said, that completely subsided when I actually sat back and realized, wait, Nathan Eovaldi just pitched 8 innings out of the bullpen. and saved the rest of the bullpen going for the rest of the series. The Dodgers gassed everybody in that one game pretty much. They didn't have that much left in the tank. They got another game afterwards. That series went 6, but regardless, if game 3 doesn't happen, if Nathan Eovaldi doesn't have the game that he has, one, he doesn't become the ace of Boston when Sale goes down and when he inevitably gets traded. We don't have to talk about that one, but he he shelled out after 2 Tommy John surgeries, after being on like 5 different teams, I think it was, up until he got to Boston, and he became a Boston legend. I know obviously Steve Pearce got the World Series MVP. I wouldn't have been mad if it went to Nathan Eovaldi just specifically for game 3. And then on a more personal note, just being able to watch it with my dad, watching Chris Sale get the final strikeout on Manny Machado, just giving him the biggest hug in the world after we did it again. 2018 holds an incredibly special place in my heart.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. Obviously, if Phillies won it any other year, it'd be one and one it would be close. But not my number two, and I'm curious where your is because it's obviously gonna be the same too, but depending on placement. I got the 2016 World Series Cubs over the Indians, now Guardians, but they were the Indians in 2016. Let's change that name back, whatever. Um, but that was just such a series, and it was so funny because obviously at the time I was rooting for the Cubs, but it's not like I wasn't rooting for the Indians. Like the Indians were such a fun team, and Cleveland just came off their championship in 2016 with the Cavs, LeBron. So Cleveland was on fire, and then when the Indians went up 3-1, you just thought it was over, but then the Cubs won game 5, but you still kind of felt like they were going to go home. Going home 3-2, maybe not the best idea if you're trying to win a World Series. And then game 7, dude, so many moving parts. The rain delay. Now everyone says if there wasn't a rain delay, the Indians would have won. I don't know. The baseball gods, what they do, like, you have to respect it. They had a plan in place, and the Cubs break in the curse. But my favorite moment was when Rajay Davis tied up the game because that's just such baseball,
Yep.
dude. To where the role player, and I love Rajay Davis. He's one of my favorites of just like the journeyman. And then he's not a home run hitter, but like him choking up almost at the barrel off of Roldis Chapman, it was just such a great moment. But I also give Roldis Chapman credit because he came back after the rain delay. I think he had a scoreless inning. But that was just a great World Series. 2016 was not only peak life, but just peak sports. Like everything was going good. And then you got a game 7 and the Cubs won it. And then the Joe Davis call when Chris Bryant fields it, the Cubs are World Series champions. I mean, that's why baseball is so great. So that's why I got it at number 2.
Yeah, so this is where we have a little bit of a placement disparage because I'll talk about why 2016 means a lot to me in a second. Because my number 2 is this most recent World Series, and that's the 2025 World Series between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Because it feels like baseball's back, Owen. It genuinely feels like it's becoming a worldwide phenomenon again. Whether it was because it was played in Canada, whether it's the Japanese influence that we're seeing with Otani Yamamoto Sasaki, and then with Murakami coming over now, and all these other guys that are going to be posted that are still posted that haven't really signed yet, it's just it expanded the game more that this one series did than I think any of the other series did in the past 10 years that we've talked about here. Obviously, we've had some pretty important World Series in the past couple of years, but with that being said, none of them were as important as the one that just passed because the Dodgers have officially claimed that evil empire position now, and now they're the team to top. Now we're going to look at all these other young, scrappy teams coming out of the woodworks to take down the giant that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. And watching a team like the Blue Jays, even though they're in my division, I loved it. I loved the season that the Blue Jays had because I had a parlay on the division winners going into, and I went 5 for 6 because the
Oh,
Blue Jays wanted to ruin my parlay,
you had Red Sox?
but I, I actually had the Yankees.
Okay, interesting.
Look, I'm a homer, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
It was
One more parlay. Like, what did you bet to win?
it was
Like,
only
if you,
like a it was only like a $10. It was only like $10. I didn't put like too much on it, but the payout because the odds were so crazy, I would have gotten
yeah,
almost like 2 grand out of that.
this, dude. Like then it's like Sophie's freaking choice. Like, do you want the Yankees to win the division or do you want $2,000? If the Phillies aren't in it and the Mets can win the division for $2,000, give me that $2,000. Like, I need money, dude, in this economy. So that's a pretty funny like story from you, parlay wise.
Yeah, dude, if I won that, we're filming this podcast like next to each other. We're not having to use apps. But
Dude, we're getting
you
hey,
know, but that's if all my parlays worked out.
yeah, hey, dude,
But you know,
parlays. I'm an avid sports bettor, and I could go for hours talking about sports betting, but I'll go into why it's my number one World Series of all time. So going into it, I thought it was just clear Dodgers were going to win, and I kind of had that mindset of I kind of wanted the Dodgers to run through everybody because like they beat us to where it's like maybe the loss stings a little less. It never does, but that's the mindset I was going into it. But then once the wheels started turning, I hopped on that Toronto Blue Jays bandwagon because not only were they, like you said, the David to the Goliath in the series, they were a damn good team, and they had the mix of Vladdy was their star, but you had Ernie Clement, Trey Savage coming out of nowhere. Like he had a good playoffs before, but like he really made his mark in that World Series. And then I just think it goes down to once it went to Toronto back for Game 6 and Game 7, those two games were. Game 7, I think, is the greatest baseball game ever played, but Game 6 was phenomenal. And then you have that weird play to where the ball gets stuck in the crevice. The center fielder puts his hands up, and it's just so weird and so heartbreaking. But Game 7, dude, I mean, when Bo hit that to the freaking moon, I thought it was completely over. I thought there was no shot. I know they have Shohei, I know they have Mookie, but I just could not imagine in Toronto, like just imagine that stadium. But then the Dodgers started clawing back. And then when they were down 3-1, the Max Muncy solo home run, you're like, huh. I still don't think they're going to win, but huh. And then when I knew it was over, I texted my buddy this. Jeff Hoffman's warming up in the bullpen, and I love Jeff Hoffman. Now, granted, his playoff failures, I'll always think about him giving up the go-ahead single in Game 5 and Game 7 against, you guessed it, the Diamondbacks. Him shitting the bed in Game 4. We already talked about this, kind of a topper problem, whatever. But Jeff Hoffman, for as good of a reliever he is, there's just certain people that aren't built for the moment. Now, granted, I did not think it was going to be Miguel Rojas to hit one off of him to tie the game. Like, that's just, I hate Miguel Rojas. Like, there's certain players I just don't like, and he's one of them. I could probably do a solo pod for about 18 hours on why I dislike Miguel Rojas. But for him to hit that,
list
that's when
coming
you kind of,
soon.
yeah, probably like right after this. Like, I'll pop a few spins and I'll just go ham. But it's just, it goes back to the Rajay Davis fact, like a role player stepping up. But then again, they tie the game, and then Hoffman gets the next two outs. He gets Shohei out. I don't know who's bad in second, probably Mookie, whatever. Fact check me. But then the game was tied, and then the Blue Jays load with the bases, and Ernie Clement, he comes up with two outs, and Yamamoto's in, but still, it's like, okay, so this is how it's going to end. It's going to be Ernie Clement, and it's going to be this poetic story, and he hits it, and off the bat, well, originally I think it was Vladdy. I don't know if that was the 10th or 9th, but he hit a 3-0 pitch to the wall that I thought he just won the World Series for the Blue Jays. But when Clement hits it, if you see the camera angle, because it's like in left field, you see Kike. That's all you see, and you see him like turned around. And if you've ever been an outfielder and you're turning around, you're just praying to God it lands in your glove. Like, that's the scariest feeling in the world. And then out of nowhere, Pages just comes in and makes the catch of his life. And that's when I knew the Dodgers were going to win it, just because that's so insane that he made that catch, because Pages was a defensive replacement in the middle of the inning. Like, that wasn't like he didn't come in for defensive purposes to start it. It was a middle inning substitution. I don't like giving Dave Roberts credit because I think he's a mid manager, but that move won them the World Series. And it's just so funny because it's so weird that the baseball gods were on the Dodgers side. Like, why would they be on the Dodgers side? Now, me personally, I will never question the baseball gods, because if I did that, the Phillies would probably have a 300-year curse and never make the playoffs. So I'm not doing that. But it was just so weird. And then the last thing I'll harp on, what Yamamoto did, it's Madison Bumgarner-esque. I think what Bumgarner did was a little bit better, but he pitched the night before 92 pitches, and he comes back in and just wins them the game. Like that's stuff out of a movie. So even though I don't like the Dodgers, I wish the Blue Jays won. What, like you said, what it did for the game of baseball, it was just chef's kiss. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, now before I get into why 2016 is at my number one, I will say that the Japanese players are built for that. I don't know if you watch any high school baseball that goes on in Japan, but they have like one of the biggest baseball tournaments in the world. Then it's all just the Japanese high schools. And when I tell you they sell out NPB stadiums, they sell out NPB stadiums. They have pitchers pitching back to back days, 18 innings, 200 something pitches. Like there's a bunch of videos on it on YouTube. I'll send you some of it because it's honestly incredibly interesting. But Yamamoto got to live out his high school lifestyle in Major League Baseball, which is unbelievable. And yeah, I think Game 7 is arguably the best baseball game that's ever been played, and that's why 2025 is so high on everybody's list. But the reason why they're number two is because 2016 did happen, and the Cubs finally broke I believe it was 104-year curse at that point in time, because I think the Billy Goat curse was 1912, and then they won it in 2016. I think it was 106 years or 104 years, my math. But
Yeah,
either way, my my
guys.
my grandfather, like it was like I was saying, my grandfather, who's always kind of been a closet Cubs fan, finally got to see them win it all. And they had a new face of baseball and Chris Bryant, who fell off a cliff after a while, but Chris Bryant was the face of baseball that season, no question about it. And you had a very marketable corner infield with him and Anthony Rizzo. Ben Zobrist kind of coming out of nowhere and being the playoff bat that everybody knew that he was, but finally giving him the chance to shine. What do you want to talk about? Dexter Fowler being in the outfield for that team. There was just a lot of David Ross being behind the plate for the majority of that playoff run and that World Series games. They were built to win the World Series, and there was nothing that was going to stop them. It was nice seeing the Indians, now Guardians, being in that World Series as well, because, like I said, I love these scrapyard type players. I love these scrappy type of teams. Now, the Guardians now have been on the cusp of being above average to average for the past like 5 to 6 years now. They're lucky that they still have J Ram, because if they didn't, nobody would know who they are. But this was when everybody started to realize that they might be around for a while, because they had J Ram. I think Frankie was on the ups. I'm pretty sure Michael Brantley was still in that outfield. I don't think he got moved to the Astros just yet.
Yeah, I think so.
That team was just that team was really really fun to watch. Like you said when you were talking about 2016 and that Guardians Indians team, Klubat was their ace. They had Cookie Carrasco, Danny Salazar, the bullpen. I think Andrew Miller wasn't a god yet, but he was their lockdown closer before they had the betting man in Emmanuel Clase. But I'm a big baseball historian. I love the game. I love the history of the game. Any sort of weird nuance about it, whether it's a curse, whether it's something that happened to a franchise many moons ago and it still somehow affects them, whether I'm talking about the Black Sox scandal, I'm talking about Jackie Robinson, or I'm talking about anything. I love history, and watching history get broken and curses get broken. There's no other sport like it to have your curses and superstitions than baseball. It's the most superstitious sport on the planet. There's nothing better than watching these superstitions and watching these curses finally get broken.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. It's just one of those World Series tours, like similar to 2025. It's just magical, dude. And like that's why I go back to the point, like when you're watching a World Series and you don't have the dog, like a dog in the fight, and you could just like appreciate good baseball. Obviously, you want your team to be in it, but it's a joy to watch.
Yeah, there. I will sit down and watch as much baseball as I physically can when given the opportunity to. Obviously, you would love to see the Phillies in there. I would love to see the Red Sox get into the World Series every year. I'd love to see them win it. You'd love to see the Phillies in it every year and win it, but that's just not possible. It's better to always just be a fan of the game than it is to just only harp on your team losing in the playoffs, or to just if your team sucks, you don't even make the playoffs. You can just watch stress-free baseball, and that's really the best part about it. There's no more beautiful game than baseball. How can you not be romantic about it? There's just so much that happens and so much beauty behind it. Yeah, sometimes it can be slow. Yeah, sometimes it may seem a little mundane, but sit down, watch it, understand it a little bit. There's a lot going on. There's a beautiful story being told in between these pitches. There's a beautiful story being told in these mound visits when the batter calls time. When anything like that happens, it's a story. Finish the story. It's a gorgeous game.
That was a great end of the podcast. Very poetic of you. But yeah, let us know what your top
Appreciate
10 is.
that, buddy.
Of course. Hey, I'm a big poetry guy. I took one mundane class in college because I had to. It was a poetry class. I enjoyed it. But yeah, let us know what your top 10 is either in the YouTube comments or the TikTok comments. We'd love to hear your opinion. We're at 39 subscribers. We're trying to get to 50 so we can do a live. We might even do a TikTok live one time just so we can have you guys either do like live Q&As or like if we have a topic and then you guys can just like comment as the stuff is going and we can react. We're trying to grow this page, but we need you guys to do it to engage. And we'd love to hear from you. But that'll do it for this episode. I'm not sure when we'll be back, probably in a couple days or so. We'll still work on some topics because obviously the market is slow right now. And I always say this, if a big signing happens, we'll do a live reaction. We'll do a podcast if Kyle Tucker signs, if Bo Bichette signs, if Alex Bregman signs. But I think we're going to have to wait a little bit for that. But for me, this was a great episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the work that you guys have done getting us to the point where we are right on the cusp of being exactly where we want to be on this YouTube stuff. So keep pushing it and keep grinding it the way that you guys have. You guys have given us almost 500 followers on TikTok before the new year. And now I know that we can get up to 50. I'd like to get it before the new year. Fingers crossed. That'd be pretty cool. But if not, again, I appreciate you guys with the support anyway. But let's get to 50 so we can keep this on YouTube and we can interact with you guys as much as humanly possible, because we've seen how Owen likes to interact on the TikTok in the comments with his little rage baity stuff. And if we can do that on a live setting.
Here's my thing. When I rage bait, I'll let you guys know. I don't know if that was rage bait because I kind of believe it. I can understand how it could be perceived as that, but you'll know when I'm rage baiting. But yeah, I love to do it.
Either way, I want to see people get mad at you live and just see you react to it that way. But either way, this was great. It was fun. It's always fun talking World Series. It's always fun talking baseball with you. And until the next one, buddy, be safe, and I'll catch you when I catch you.
All right, later, dude.